That's the country rep of the UN Women in Zimbabwe, Madam Aminata Fatulo. We want to thank you and your staff. We know each other now. The members of the media, we really thank you. This is special. As you have heard for yourself, they are here to support the programs which Zimbabwe are doing in terms of gender equality and women empowerment, and we are very grateful. The government of Zimbabwe has mandated our ministry to make sure that we look into the issues of women empowerment. So in terms of looking at women affairs alone, before I go to the other, I always say these are three ministries in one. In many countries, you'd find the Ministry of Women Affairs as a standalone ministry. Then you find the Ministry of Community Development as a standalone, and a ministry which supports SMEs development as a standalone. But in this, in his astute leadership, the president put it all in one ministry. It requires the staff who are here, the permanent sector, and my staff to run around. We have got a chief director in the women's department looking at women affairs, and we've got a chief director looking at the SMEs. So our job really is to make sure that we coordinate. That's a critical role for our ministry. It is not that we work on our own. Our president emphasizes a lot about the whole of government approach. So we work with government, we work with UN agencies, we work with CSOs, civil society organizations, we work with women movement in this country, from the grassroots all the way to the top. So our critical role is to make sure that we coordinate that collective national effort so that we attain the gender equality and women empowerment which we're talking about. As a government, we have established, that is the government of Zimbabwe, we have established national mechanisms to make sure that the work can be done and can be coordinated. That is, of course, the ministry, which is our ministry, which I've talked about. Then there is also the parliamentary committee, which actually is doing the oversight. And we work very closely with the members of parliament. These are legislators who have been elected by the people, so we work together with them. There's a committee at the parliament where there's a portfolio chair who we work with and move with all the time. We also have the Zimbabwe Gender Commission, which is one of the 12 independent commissions in our constitution, and we work very closely. Their job is to make sure that they monitor and evaluate the work which everybody is doing. Are we achieving the results we want at the same time? Then we do have gender mainstreaming directorates. It's very interesting to say, when this started, initially it was, we had quite a number of teething problems. The gender mainstreaming directorates were not very active, but as a ministry, together with everybody, the UN agencies and CSOs, we have continued to carry out what we call workshops and seminars to just make sure that they understand their job, not just with the directorates, but with the heads of those ministries. And also it has been made easier by the president, who says we should all be working together. Ministries cannot work in silo. So that has actually helped them. We also have a national gender machinery coordination framework as a country, which has been developed and strengthened to coordinate all these mechanisms. So as a country, again, we have registered significant progress in promulgating laws and amending existing ones. I want to say the constitution of this country is a very positive document. It's actually pro-female. I always call it a female document. I was one of the 25 members of parliament who spearheaded the constitution-making process, whereby we had to go out there to talk to the people. And it was clear that the people of Zimbabwe take women's issues very seriously, take gender issues very seriously, even the traditional chiefs, because they were out there to say we need the rights of women enshrined in that constitution, because we want to make sure that we deal with issues of gender-based violence. Because when that happens in the communities where they're looking after, they are the ones who suffer. Mothers in the early morning, they have to visit their chief's house because there is violence in their home. So I was happy to say the people of Zimbabwe spoke with one voice. We all sang from the same hymn book. Gender-based violence is an issue to deal with. We are obviously talking about how beautiful that constitution is, but we still battling to make sure that what is enshrined in our constitution is implemented. And so also we've done enough in terms of amending existing laws which are there in line with the gender equality normative frameworks. That again, we are looking at what the treaties, which Zimbabwe signed to, protocols, CEDAW, Beijing Platform for Action, SADC Protocol, Africa Union, all those Zimbabwe has signed. And as a ministry, we follow up on progress all the time. And also several policy frameworks, strategies, and action plans have been put in place to promote gender equality and women empowerment. The national gender policy, we are actually in the process of reviewing it, and at this point it has moved. It was a consultative approach. We use stakeholders. We don't come up with policies and strategies without consulting the people, because we always want the buy-in of the people. So, and in this country, Zimbabwe, we say everybody is important, starting from the grassroots all the way to the top. So we listen to all these sectors, and we've come up with this review. It's now going through cabinet, so we should soon have a reviewed gender policy, because the one which we have had been promulgated in 2017. So, yeah, and above that, we also have several policy frameworks, strategies, action plans, and all this is to empower our women, gender equality, and make sure that nobody is left behind. So the national gender policy is there. The national strategy on women in leadership decision making, it's there. The National Action Plan on Women, Peace and Security, and I'm happy to say as a country we have actually launched that together with the Ministry of Defense, so we are quite happy. The National Strategy on Gender and Climate Change, because we can see that women and girls are disproportionately affected by climate change. And if I can talk about that, there's a lot which we are doing with the women, both in the grassroots and the rural level, together with our UN agencies, in terms of adaptation and mitigation, because the climate change really has brought in a lot of problems, which we see a lot of our girls. Sometimes they drop out of school because there's not enough food. But I am happy to say there's a lot of work which is being done there. Then we also realize the importance of, if you are going to empower women, you need to talk about finance, access to finance. And as we said earlier on, I think I was talking about how women didn't own a lot of means of production. Most of the properties in this country were always owned by men. Even when women get married, they didn't own much. So the importance of coming up with a women microfinance bank in this country was started in 2017. Yes, it has had its own teething problems, but we are happy to say among many countries, when I speak it, whether it's regional level, continental level, or even at global level, it's an issue which we are very proud about. And that bank, the Women's Microfinance Bank, is under my mandate. So it has problems because Zimbabwe has got, of course, a lot of priorities when it comes to resources. So it's not fully resourced, it is not fully capitalized, but we are seeing it helping a lot of our women. You may be amazed by what even a loan of $500 would do to a family from the grassroots. It completely transforms their lives. And so we've seen that, and we continue to work. We are also, besides what government has been putting as resources into the women empowerment and gender equality issues, we are also working with the private sector. We realize that it is important for corporate social responsibility. The culture of just waiting for donors and sponsors has really been a serious problem among our people, but we are beginning to see a lot of corporate companies coming on board. As a ministry, there are quite a number of activities which we are carrying out, which we find ourselves being supported by corporate sector. But still, we want to say a lot of effort has been put through the UN agencies, a lot of work. So government gives funds to this ministry through what is called a Women Development Fund. There is also the Zimbabwe Community Development Fund. In this fund, we go, I ask the communities to identify a project in their area and make sure that we support that project. We support through entrepreneurial skills. Our ministry has got more than 2,000 staff who are constantly being trained to make sure that they go down all the way to the grassroots to train our people to make sure they start something, economic activity. So that is what we are also happy to say. The environment which has been created in our country has made every private sector banks, the commercial banks in this country, who at one point never really considered women as a serious customer. They just thought they were risky. They never really took them serious. They are beginning to create women desks and SMEs desks in their banks, where they are coming up with programs where they give without too high interest rates, because most of the time what is a problem for a lot of our women to get loans is the interest rates, which are too high. Then I come to the most important thing, which is if we are going to empower women, it is important to look at, to instill that confidence. You start by looking at how, at family level, how are they growing up? How is the family, father and mother, how are they interacting in a family? That's where issues of gender-based violence have come in. And we know that a lot has been done by the country, together with women movement in this country, together with our UN agencies, but we still have 1 in 3 women being abused. So the issues of safe markets, the issues of one-stop centers, the issues of providing empowerment for women, because if a woman, a mother is empowered, we all know, then they've got a little bit of money to put food on the table. They can send their children to school, and we begin to see a lot more, and there was a deliberate policy by this country to send girl child to school at independence. Because I told you, families would rather send boys before, not because they didn't want to send girls, but at that point, the little money they had, they would prefer to send a boy child to school. But at independence in 1980, the government, of course, deliberately started establishing a lot of schools, and our people, because they want education so much in this country, our communities started building schools on their own. Government was actually behind in terms of supplying teachers, but this is why today we are so proud to say as a country we are almost around 95 to 96 illiteracy rate in the whole of Africa. It's because of the efforts which were done at that. We are beginning to see a lot more of young girls going to school. But the problem is we are seeing them at primary and secondary level. But as we go towards tertiary education, we are beginning to see less and less girls. So our work together with the UN agencies and other stakeholders is to make sure that we instill confidence in our girls that you can do it, you can take STEM subjects, and we are beginning to see this bearing fruits. So that is part of what we do. I want to go back to the one-stop center, how beneficial it is. The one-stop center, what it provides an opportunity for that woman to be able to get out of an abusive home. Before, it was very difficult. You say, yes, you can't stay in an abusive home, but this mother has got children, she has nowhere to go, and so most of the of killings which were happening between partners is because the mother will continue to say, okay, I stay here for my children, I don't have anywhere to go. But what then the one-stop centers are doing, they've made it very easy for those women who are being abused, gender-based violence survivors or victims, to be able to go to these places. Under one roof, they'll be able to see the victim-friendly police, which we call them the victim-friendly unit. There will be a lawyer to make sure that the perpetrator is dealt with. There is also a counselor, because GBV itself is traumatic, and you want a mother to be counseled so that at least that is all under one roof. And of course, the medical service, which they so require. These are issues which we are seen all under one roof. And we also realize that when the mother leaves that abusive home, they will be having their children. So it's important, under most of these one-stop centers, we've also made sure that there's a school, so that, a mother can do whatever they do, selling their wares, continue with their livelihood skills, whilst they know their children are safe. So the safe markets have really been very popular. And if I could say, these are the funding for this one-stop center both from government and from the project itself, they came to an end. And that has brought us problems of sustainability. And we begin to see a little bit of pushbacks in those areas. But I'm glad to say we are continue to see what we need to do together with even the corporate companies, even the chiefs in that area, to see that there's sustainability, that we continue to get food to give to these families who come to these one-stop centers. The safe markets, the only issue, because of the success story of those one-stop centers and safe markets, the disadvantage is we only have 18 in this country. And if we could have one-stop center in all our districts, we've got more than about 67 districts in the country, that would definitely bring down the statistics of gender-based violence. Because already we are beginning to see, and as a ministry also, our staff who goes all the way to the grassroots level, most of their work, even under the tree, is awareness campaign. So that everybody understands that you can't suffer alone. You understand that there is the government working with UN agencies, working with development partners, working with CSOs, working with everyone to make sure that they help you. So that has helped a lot. There's a good awareness campaign. You know, our women are issues of social protection programs. That's very important. Food security. The issue of food security, the government has come up with what is called agricultural climate-proof ways of doing agriculture. And that has helped a lot. Our job as a ministry is to get disaggregated data, to say when those presidential inputs go out there and they get fertilizers, they get seeds, are women also getting them? There is also what is called Agric for She program. This is to make sure that our women, as these inputs for agriculture are being given to communities, our women, child-headed families, and our young girls also get them. We are also looking into issues of women clubs to make sure that women talk to each other. When you provide schools closer to the community, that means mothers have more time to do things. When you provide solar or biogas for cooking, it means women have more time to learn other things through women clubs. Otherwise, if they have to walk more than 5 kilometers to take their child to school, or more than 5 kilometers to look for firewood for cooking, that becomes a problem. So those are the areas where we are working very hard on. Cooperatives, I told, we also have what we call internal savings and lending schemes, so that at least women can lend each other. And they do a lot of things. We're beginning to see women doing a lot of things. They start off with the food for the family, then kitchen utensils, and some have started buying cars for each other. So we are saying those also work. The savings and credit cooperatives, they are all registered in this ministry. Then when you come to the legislative and policy measures to accelerate the achievement of the 50-50, which is enshrined in our constitution. Our constitution talks to the 50-50. But unfortunately, implementation has been really a challenge, and we are working very hard to make sure that we put enough legislative and policy measures to make sure that we achieve that 50-50 representation. We talking about the statistics in our parliament. When the good thing which happened is when that constitution was enshrined, there was also a provision for a quota for women. That provided 6 seats from our 10 provinces, which is set aside. So we've got 60 women in parliament who come through that quota. It had come to an end because initially it was put for 10 years, but I'm happy that the president and his executive extended it for another 10 years. But again, we may want to see that we achieve the 50-50 on the first past the post. Because we want also women to be actually 50-50. At the moment, we are really running low. It's sad. We have a lot of work to do there. Then talking about our president, he has shown his commitment towards ending gender-based violence. He signed the high-level political compact on ending gender-based violence and also harmful practices. The harmful practices which we are talking about here is marrying off young girls. And you know we came up with very good laws against that. So we also, as government, has developed that national agenda, GBV strategy, and this one galvanizes the national collective efforts. Because we realize when you move on your own, there's always duplication of efforts. So what, as a ministry, we're saying, this office is open to anybody who's got a good idea. Let's move together so that we have got impactful and fruitful results. And this is what we have. And of course, I was talking about the consolidated marriages laws, which will ensure, which now ensures that rights of spouses in and out of marriage, and also setting the minimum age to 18 of marriage. So all that has really helped a lot. We have also amended the criminal code, setting a minimum mandatory sentence for sexual violence to 15 years. So these are some of the efforts which, as a government, we are doing. The progress, amongst others, could not be achieved without the support of the UN Women. And I want to say that very clearly. They have provided financial and technical support, which have made some of these projects succeed. Without that support, maybe we would not have succeeded. While Zimbabwe celebrates all these positive milestones I've talked about, and I know I'm aware of time, we acknowledge the need for accelerated action. There's need for continued funding. Otherwise, all the gains will lose them. The one-stop centers I've talked about, we need many more of them, because we have realized we did a mobile one-stop center where people moved into these remotest areas where there is no one-stop center. You know, they used to receive more than 300 women a day who would come, and some men too, who would come, who need that kind of help. So this, when we talk of reducing gender-based violence without increasing one-stop centers and safe markets, it would really take us 300 years like other people talk about. But we are also working hard in terms of awareness with the people who are custodians of our people in this country, the chiefs, the traditional chiefs. They still hold a lot of power when it comes to people in our communities. There we are talking to them, we carry out workshops, and they understand. And in our parliament, we've got 20 traditional chiefs. So whatever we speak about, whatever papers I take to parliament, I'm happy to say I'm beginning to see a lot of contributions coming from even the traditional chiefs to say we need to really put our money where our mouth is, because parliament is about allocating resources for this ministry. We are also very concerned about early child marriages. Child marriages, actually, there's nothing called early child marriages. We are happy that we have the Marriage Act, which is talking to the 18 years. But there's still more which needs to be done to make sure that we reach all those remote areas. And even in towns, we still see young girls marrying before 18. But we need enforcement of the law, because the law is there. So issues of enforcement is another issue which we are very concerned about. So as a ministry, together with our stakeholders, we are concerned about the pushback against rights, equality, and empowerment, which seems to intensify the restrictions on reproductive health care. That's a very serious. A healthy nation is a wealthy nation. Mothers are the ones who carry the babies. If we empower our women, I always tell, when I speak to the people of this country, they shouldn't be worried, get worried about issues of women empowerment, gender equality. It's actually when you empower a woman, you're empowering somebody's wife, somebody's mother, somebody's sister, somebody's daughter. And when those women are empowered, naturally the whole country gets empowered. So issues of women empowerment, we have put it clearly on the table that they are not just issues of human rights, but they are economic issues. It is well known that when you empower women, families transform. So the issue of enforcement is what we are working on. I also want to bring to your attention that Zimbabwe is chairing the SADC regional bloc, of course it's a 1 year, but we are taking advantage as the ministers of gender in the SADC region. They will be coming to Zimbabwe for a meeting this June. So we are taking advantage to make sure that all these issues are highlighted as our heads of states go to summit in August. So this is a very good time to make sure that we discuss among ourselves, because all these issues, they go across borders. They are almost the same. So we will be really working on issues of gender equality and women empowerment to put that to our heads of states. We are also looking forward to participate in the upcoming UN General Assembly in September. And I attended last year, and I saw that it is very important to make sure that the issues of gender equality and women empowerment are put right there to the member states, heads of states. And we, especially with the Beijing Plus 30 meeting in October this year, we also would want to take these issues and discuss about it at SADC level, at IU level. I'm happy that I work very well with the IU. Also, we did a lot to make sure that the issues of the political declaration, which was adopted at the CSW 69, especially when it came to HIV/AIDS, we were very instrumental in making sure that it's put there. So we wish you, I have a whole list of places which you are going to visit. I know how busy you are. I want to sincerely thank you to come to Zimbabwe first, and sincerely thank you for coming here to your ministry, to the ministry which is driving women issues of gender equality and women empowerment. I wish you a very fruitful visit, and looking forward to meeting with you for a debriefing. I want to learn from what you would have seen. If there's anything which we can do better, we are very open to your suggestions. They will help us be a better ministry and carry out the mandate which we were given, which is of making sure that there's gender equality and women empowerment in this country. I want to say with that, we hope to see you tomorrow. Our head of state, I'm sure, is also looking forward to meet this very powerful, important delegation to our country. And because of the importance he puts on the gender equality issues and women empowerment, despite his busy schedule, I'm sure we'll be able to get an opportunity to see him tomorrow. I thank you.